started the game, but I'll win.
The security system chimed at 1:44 a.m. and I knew my marriage was over. 20 years as a security consultant teaches you to trust the data, not the stories people tell. The entry log showed Alyssa's guest code, the one I'd programmed for emergencies, not her regular access. She was supposed to be at the agency, pulling another all-nighter for the Morrison campaign. But here she was, creeping through our house like a thief in her own home. I'm Franklin Dorsey, 41, and paranoia pays my mortgage. After 12 years as a cop and 9 more running security for Maine's wealthy coastal elite, I've learned that everyone lies. I just never expected my wife to become another case study. From our bedroom window, I watched Alyssa's BMW pull into the driveway. She sat there for 5 minutes, checking her phone, fixing her makeup in the mirror. The red dress she'd worn to work was wrinkled, her hair messed up in ways that had nothing to do with spreadsheets. She finally came inside, heels clicking against the hardwood like a countdown timer. I pretended to sleep as she slipped into our bathroom. The shower ran for 20 minutes, long enough to wash away evidence of wherever she'd really been. Frank? Her voice was honey-sweet, the tone she used when she wanted something. You awake? I kept my breathing steady, eyes closed. Through the bathroom door's crack, I saw her drop the red dress into the hamper. It reeked of expensive cologne, not mine. The next morning, I confronted her over coffee. Alyssa sat across from me at our kitchen island, scrolling through her phone with practiced indifference. She looked perfect as always, blonde hair in a sleek bob, makeup flawless, designer blouse pressed and professional. Late night, I said, sipping my coffee. Morrison campaign is eliminating me. We're behind deadline. She didn't look up from her screen. Funny thing about that. I pulled out my tablet, showed her the security log. System says you used the guest code. Why not your regular one? Her fingers paused over her phone. For just a second, I saw the crack in her armor. Then she smiled, that brilliant marketing director smile that had charmed clients for years. I was exhausted, mixed up the numbers. She stood, kissed my forehead. Don't be so paranoid, honey. It's not attractive. But I was already 3 steps ahead. The guest code had been activated twice in the past month, both times when Alyssa was supposedly at work. I'd checked. Her car had been spotted at the marina, not downtown. That evening, I installed a GPS tracker on her BMW. Not illegal, I owned half the car, and I had the technical skills for my consulting work. If Alyssa was playing games, I'd learn the rules. 3 nights later, I got my answer. The tracker showed her car parked at Harbor View Condos, the most expensive address in town. She stayed there until 2 a.m., then came home with another story about client deadlines. I knew Harbor View. I'd installed security systems for half the building. Unit 4B belonged to Jasper Dale, CEO of Dale Maritime Holdings. Old money, new arrogance, and a reputation for collecting other men's wives like vintage wines. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. Alyssa's new clothes, the mysterious phone calls, her sudden interest in networking events I wasn't invited to. She wasn't just cheating, she was trading up. The next morning, I decided to test my theory. I made breakfast, set the table for 2, and waited. When Alyssa came downstairs, I was ready. Sleep well? I asked. Like a baby. She poured coffee, checked her reflection in the toaster's chrome surface. Good, because I've been thinking about us, about our future. I leaned back in my chair, studied her face. 20 years is a long time to be with someone. Something flickered in her eyes. Guilt, maybe, or calculation. It is. What brought this on? Just wondering if you're happy, if there's anything you need that you're not getting at home. She set down her mug, turned to face me fully. For a moment, I thought she might confess. Instead, she moved closer, perched on the arm of my chair. Frank, you're being weird. Is this about work stress? You've been tense lately. Her hand touched my shoulder, fingers trailing down my chest. The gesture felt rehearsed, like she was following a script. I caught her wrist, held it gently but firmly. I'm fine. Just curious about your late nights. The Morrison campaign must be really demanding. It is. She pulled free, stepped back. Look, I need to get ready. Some of us have actual deadlines. The dismissal stung, but it also confirmed what I'd suspected. Alyssa wasn't just cheating. She was already mentally divorced. I was an inconvenience, a complication to be managed until she could execute whatever exit strategy she'd planned. That afternoon, I drove to Harbor View. The doorman recognized me from previous security installations and let me check the visitor logs. Alyssa had been signing in regularly for 6 weeks, always as A. Morrison, using her fake client as cover. I sat in my truck, staring up at Jasper Dale's balcony. 20 years of marriage, and she'd reduced it to a lie on a clipboard. The betrayal burned, but underneath the anger was something colder. Professional curiosity. If this was war, I wanted to understand the enemy's strategy. My phone buzzed. Text from Alyssa. Working late again, don't wait up. I almost laughed. She was probably already in Dale's elevator, riding up to her new life while texting lies to her old one. The sheer audacity was almost impressive. But two could play strategic games. I had advantages Alyssa didn't know about. 20 years of investigating cheaters, liars, and thieves. She might be ready for war, but she'd picked a fight with the wrong soldier. I started the truck and headed home. Time to begin my own campaign. The fisherman's knot hadn't changed in 30 years. Same scarred wooden bar, same smell of fried fish and spilled beer, same crowd of locals who treated gossip like currency. I found Ray Burns in his usual corner booth, nursing a Budweiser and reading case files. Frank Dorsey. Ray looked up, grinned. Figured you'd show up eventually. Ray had been my partner for 5 years before I left the force. Now he was a detective sergeant, still fighting the good fight while I chased corporate security contracts. He was also the best source of information in a 50-mile radius. That obvious? I slid into the booth across from him. Small town, big mouths. Word is your wife's been seen around town with interesting company. Ray closed his file, signaled the bartender for another round. Jasper Dale, ring any bells? Should it? Old family, new problems. Dale Maritime's been hemorrhaging money for 2 years. Jasper's been selling assets, laying off workers, looking for investors. Ray leaned forward, lowered his voice. Also been seen with several married women whose husbands have money. The bartender brought our beers. I waited until he was gone before responding. You're saying he's a professional homewrecker? I'm saying he's got expensive tastes and a cash flow problem. Make your own conclusions. Ray sipped his beer, studied my face. How you holding up? Been better? Been worse? I shrugged, tried to sound casual. Mostly curious about his methods, professional interest. Ray laughed. Right, professional. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through photos. This professional enough for you? The image showed Alyssa and Jasper at Harbor Light Restaurant, leaning across an intimate table. She was wearing the black dress I'd bought her for our anniversary. He was holding her hand, whispering something that made her laugh. When was this taken? 3 nights ago, same night you were at the Rotary dinner, giving that security presentation. Ray pocketed the phone. Jasper's got a pattern. Targets wives of successful men, wines and dines them, makes them feel special. Then he starts asking about business opportunities, investment advice, access to their husbands' networks. So it's not just an affair, it's a con. Could be both. Guy like that? Everything's transactional. Ray finished his beer, stood up. Be careful, Frank. Jasper's got connections, lawyers, money. If you're thinking about making moves, make sure they're legal ones. I stayed at the bar after Ray left, nursing my beer and thinking. The pieces were falling into place. But the picture they formed was uglier than simple infidelity. Alyssa wasn't just cheating. She was being recruited. My phone buzzed. Text from Alyssa. Client dinner running late, home by midnight. I checked the time. 8:30 p.m. Harbor Light was a 15-minute drive from our house. I could be there in 20 minutes, catch them in the act, create a scene that would end everything quickly and publicly. Instead, I ordered another beer and opened my laptop. Revenge was a dish best served with documentation. I spent the next hour researching Jasper Dale. Ray was right about the money problems. Dale Maritime had been bleeding contracts to larger competitors. Jasper had sold his yacht, his vacation home, even his father's vintage car collection. Yet he was still living in a $1 million condo, still driving a Porsche, still playing the role of successful businessman. The math didn't add up unless he had other income sources. Sources like wealthy wives with access to their husbands' assets. At 11:47 p.m., I drove past Harbor View. Alyssa's BMW was in the visitor parking, right where I expected it to be. I took photos, noted the time, added another entry to my growing evidence file. She came home at 12:23 a.m., slipping into bed like she'd been there all evening. I pretended to sleep while she settled beside me, her hair still smelling like Jasper's cologne. The next morning, I made my first move. Morning, beautiful. I brought Alyssa coffee in bed, sat on the edge of the mattress. Sleep well? She stretched, smiled up at me. For a moment, she looked like the woman I'd married. Before the lies, before Jasper, before everything went wrong. I've been thinking about what you said yesterday about being tense, stressed out. I brushed a strand of hair from her face. maybe we should take a vacation. Get away from work, reconnect. Her smile faltered slightly. That sounds nice, but the timing's terrible. The Morrison campaign, screw Morrison. I leaned down, kissed her forehead. 20 years of marriage should count for more than some client's deadline. What do you say? 2 weeks in Italy, just us. She sat up, suddenly alert. Frank, I can't just abandon my responsibilities. This campaign could make my career or break our marriage. I kept my voice gentle, reasonable. When's the last time we spent real time together, just talking, remembering why we fell in love? We talk all the time. About schedules and bills and logistics. When's the last time we talked about dreams? About what we want from life? I took her hand, felt her fingers tense. I miss you, Alyssa. I miss us. For a second, I saw conflict in her eyes, guilt warring with whatever fantasy Jasper had sold her. Then her marketing training kicked in, and she became professionally sympathetic. Oh, honey, I miss us too. But right now, I need to focus on this opportunity. Once the campaign's over, we'll have all the time in the world. It was a perfect politician's answer, warm, vague, and ultimately meaningless. She was stalling, buying time to finalize her exit strategy. Okay. I squeezed her hand, smiled sadly. I understand. Career first, right? She looked relieved, probably thinking she'd managed the situation successfully. You're the best husband in the world. Most men wouldn't be so understanding. Most men don't love their wives as much as I love you. I stood up, headed for the door. I'll let you get ready for work. In the hallway, I allowed myself a cold smile. Alyssa thought she was playing me, but she'd just confirmed everything I'd suspected. She wasn't conflicted about the affair. She was committed to it, which meant I could stop feeling guilty about what came next. I went to my home office, opened my laptop, and began planning her destruction. Marina Glass had been Alyssa's best friend since college, or so I'd thought. Sitting across from her at the Fisherman's Knot, watching her fidget with her wine glass and avoid eye contact, I realized friendship was just another casualty of Alyssa's new life. Thanks for meeting me, I said, keeping my tone casual. I know things are awkward right now. Marina laughed nervously. Awkward doesn't begin to cover it. Frank, I feel terrible about everything that's happening. What exactly is happening, Marina? Because I'm getting mixed signals from my wife. She took a large gulp of wine, glanced around the bar like she expected Alyssa to materialize from the shadows. I probably shouldn't be here. Alyssa would eliminate me if she knew. Alyssa doesn't own you. We've been friends for 20 years, longer than she's known you. I leaned forward, made my voice concerned and trustworthy. I'm worried about her. She's been acting strange, distant. Is she okay? Marina's resolve crumbled like cheap concrete. She's not okay, Frank. None of this is okay. What do you mean? The whole situation with Jasper, the lies, the way she's treating you. It's not the Alyssa I know. Marina finished her wine, signaled for another. She's changed since she started seeing him, became secretive, paranoid, almost cruel. How long have you known about the affair? 6 weeks. She swore me to secrecy, said it was just a fling, that she'd end it soon. Marina's second wine arrived, and she attacked it immediately. But it's gotten worse. She talks about leaving you, starting over like 20 years of marriage means nothing. The betrayal stung, but I kept my expression neutral. What does she say about me? Marina winced. Frank, maybe we shouldn't. Please, I need to understand what's happening to my marriage. She says you're boring, predictable, that she feels trapped in a small-town life when she could be doing bigger things. The words came out in a rush, like Marina had been holding them back for weeks. It's not true, Frank. We all know it's not true. But Jasper's got her convinced she deserves better. Better than what? Better than everything. Better husband, better house, better life. He's promised her a job in Boston, connections to major clients, a chance to run her own agency. Marina leaned closer, whispered conspiratorially. But here's the thing. I did some checking. Jasper Dale's broke. His company's failing. His assets are leveraged to the hilt. He can't deliver on any of those promises. This was new information, valuable intelligence I could use. Does Alyssa know? I tried to tell her, but she won't listen. She's completely under his spell. Marina grabbed my hand across the table. Frank, you have to fight for her. Don't let that fool destroy your marriage. I squeezed her hand, gave her my most grateful smile. Thank you for telling me this. It means everything. What it actually meant was that I now had confirmation of Alyssa's exit strategy and Jasper's con game. But Marina didn't need to know that. 2 days later, I got more intelligence from an unexpected source. Sam, my 16-year-old son, cornered me in the garage while I was working on my truck. "Dad, can we talk?" Sam had inherited Alyssa's blonde hair and my suspicious nature, a combination that made him dangerously perceptive. He perched on my workbench, swinging his legs like he used to do as a kid. "What's on your mind?" "Mom's been acting weird lately. Secretive phone calls, coming home late, new clothes she hides in her car." He looked at me with eyes too old for his face. "Are you guys getting divorced?" The directness caught me off guard. I set down my wrench, really looked at my son. "What makes you think that?" "I'm not stupid, Dad. I know what affairs look like. Half my friends' parents have been through this." Sam's voice was matter-of-fact, but I could see the worry underneath. "Mom's having one, isn't she?" There was no point in lying. Sam was smart enough to figure it out anyway, and he deserved honesty. "Yeah, she is." He nodded like I'd confirmed something he'd already known. "But that Dale guy, the one with the fancy car? How do you—" "Never mind, yes. He's a pecker. Came to pick her up last week when she thought you were out of town. Treated me like I was the help, didn't even bother learning my name." Sam's jaw tightened, and for a moment, he looked exactly like me at his age. "What are you going to do about it?" "I'm working on it." "Good. Because Mom's making a huge mistake and someone needs to stop her before she ruins everything." He hopped off the workbench, headed for the door, then turned back. "Dad, whatever you're planning, I'm on your side." That evening, I made my next move. I waited until Alyssa was in the shower, then checked her phone. She'd gotten sloppy about security, probably because she thought I was too trusting to snoop. Her text history with Jasper was a masterclass in manipulation. He called her beautiful, brilliant, wasted on small-town life. She responded with increasing enthusiasm, sharing details about our finances, my business contacts, even our marriage problems. But the most damaging messages were between Alyssa and Marina. Despite Marina's performance at the bar, she was actively helping coordinate the affair, providing alibis, covering for late nights, even suggesting ways to hide assets before filing for divorce. I photographed everything, backed up the files, and replaced the phone exactly where I'd found it. Then, I sat in my office, staring at the evidence of my marriage's destruction, and felt something cold and final settle in my chest. Alyssa wanted to play games? Fine. But she'd picked a fight with someone who'd spent 20 years learning how to win. The next morning, I started my counterattack. I filed for divorce on a Tuesday morning, serving Alyssa the papers at her office in front of her entire staff. The process server was a friend of Ray's, a guy who understood the value of perfect timing and maximum embarrassment. According to Ray, who heard it from the server, Alyssa went white when she saw the documents. Her hands shook as she read the grounds. Infidelity, with photographic evidence and documented proof of her affair with Jasper Dale. But the real kicker was the asset freeze. I'd spent 3 days with my lawyer, a shark named Patricia Hendricks, who specialized in high-conflict divorces. We'd frozen all joint accounts, secured the house, and filed for exclusive use of marital property pending the divorce proceedings. Alyssa came home that night like a hurricane, slamming doors and screaming accusations. I was waiting in the living room, calm as a lake before a storm. "You fool!" She threw the papers at me, her perfect composure finally cracked. "How dare you humiliate me like that?" "Humiliate you?" I stood up slowly, letting her see the cold fury I'd been hiding for weeks. "You've been screwing another man for 2 months, lying to our friends, planning to steal half our assets, and I'm the one who should be ashamed? It's not like that. It's exactly like that." I pulled out my phone, showed her the photos from Harbor Light Restaurant. "Tuesday night, when you were supposedly at a client dinner. Wednesday at his condo, when you were working late. Should I keep going?" Her face cycled through emotions. Shock, anger, calculation. "You had me followed?" "I didn't have to. You got sloppy, Alyssa. Sloppy and stupid, and so convinced of your own cleverness that you forgot who you were married to." I stepped closer, watched her flinch. 20 years as a cop and security consultant. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? Frank, please, let me explain. Explain what? That you fell out of love? That you needed excitement? That I'm boring? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Save the speeches, Alyssa. I've already heard them. She blinked, confused. What do you mean? Marina's been very helpful. Told me all about your plans, the job in Boston, the new life, how you deserve better than your small-town husband. I sat back down, picked up the divorce papers. Unfortunately for you, Jasper Dale's broke. His company's failing, his promises are worthless, And you've thrown away 20 years for a con man. That's not true. Call him. Ask to see his financial statements. Ask about the job offer, the connections, the bright future he's promised you. I smiled coldly. Then ask yourself why a successful businessman needs to seduce married women to pay his bills. For the first time since she'd walked in, Alyssa looked uncertain. Jasper wouldn't lie to me. Jasper's been lying to everyone, including you. I stood up, headed for the stairs. Your stuff's in the guest room. My lawyer will be in touch about visitation schedules and asset division. Frank, wait. I turned back, saw her standing there in her expensive clothes and perfect makeup, suddenly looking lost and small. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered the lies, the betrayal, the casual cruelty of her dismissal. 20 years, Alyssa. 20 years I loved you, supported you, built a life with you, and you threw it away for a fantasy. I shook my head. I hope it was worth it. I went upstairs, leaving her alone with the wreckage of her choices. The next few days were a blur of legal meetings, asset inventories, and strategic planning. Patricia Hendricks was everything I'd hoped for. Ruthless, thorough, and completely committed to protecting my interests. Your wife made several mistakes, Patricia explained during one of our meetings. First, she documented everything in text messages. Second, she involved third parties who can testify to her infidelity. Third, she started moving money before filing for divorce, which looks like fraud. What does that mean for me? It means we have leverage. In Maine, infidelity affects property division and spousal support. With this evidence, she'll be lucky to get 30% of marital assets. Patricia smiled like a shark scenting blood. And if we can prove she was planning to hide assets, she might get even less. The information should have made me happy. Instead, I felt empty, like I was watching someone else's life fall apart. 20 years of marriage reduced to legal strategy and asset division. My phone buzzed. Text from Marina. Frank, please call me. This is all getting out of hand. I deleted the message without responding. Marina had made her choice when she decided to help Alyssa's affair. Now she could live with the consequences. That evening, Ray stopped by with updates from his unofficial intelligence network. Jasper Dale's been asking around about you, he said, accepting a beer and settling into my kitchen chair. Wants to know about your background, your connections, whether you're the type to cause trouble. What did you tell him? Nothing, but other people have been more helpful. Ray grinned. Word is, he's getting nervous. Apparently, your wife's been asking uncomfortable questions about his finances. Good. Maybe she's finally waking up. Maybe, or maybe she's just realizing she picked the wrong horse. Ray finished his beer, studied my face. How you holding up, Frank? Really? I'm fine. Bees, you look like hell. You're living on coffee and anger, and you're planning something that's going to get you in trouble. Ray leaned forward. What are you thinking? I was thinking about justice, about consequences, about making sure that Alyssa and Jasper understood the real cost of their choices. But I couldn't tell Ray that. I'm thinking about protecting myself and my son. Everything else is just details. Ray didn't look convinced, but he didn't push. After he left, I sat alone in my kitchen, staring at the empty chair where Alyssa used to sit, and planned my next move. The war was just beginning. 3 weeks after serving the divorce papers, I got the call I'd been waiting for. Alyssa wanted to meet, to discuss our situation like adults. She suggested Harbor Light Restaurant, the same place where she'd been photographed with Jasper. I arrived early, chose a table with a clear view of the entrance and good acoustics for the recording device in my jacket pocket. Alyssa walked in 15 minutes late, looking haggard despite her expensive clothes and professional makeup. Thank you for coming, she said, sliding into the chair across from me. You said it was important. She ordered wine, I stuck with coffee. We sat in awkward silence until her drink arrived. Then she launched into what sounded like a rehearsed speech. Frank, I know I've hurt you. I know I've made mistakes, and I'm sorry. But we have 20 years together, a son, a life we built. Doesn't that count for something? It counted for everything. Past tense. I sipped my coffee, watched her flinch at the coldness in my voice. What do you want, Alyssa? I want to fix this. End the affair. Go to counseling. Save our marriage. She reached across the table, tried to take my hand. I pulled away. It's not too late, Frank. We can get through this. Interesting timing. 3 weeks ago, you were ready to start a new life in Boston. What changed? Her composure cracked slightly. I realized I was making a mistake, that what we have is worth fighting for. Or you realize Jasper can't deliver on his promises? She went very still. What do you mean? I mean, your boyfriend's company is 3 months from bankruptcy. I mean, the job offer was fake, the connections don't exist, and the only reason he was interested in you was access to our money. I leaned forward, watched her face crumble. You didn't just cheat on me, Alyssa. You got conned. That's not... Jasper wouldn't... She stopped, unable to finish the lie. Call him right now. Ask to see his financial statements, his business plan, proof of the opportunities he promised you. I pulled out my phone, set it on the table. Go ahead, I'll wait. She stared at the phone like it was a loaded weapon. Frank, please. You can't, can you? Because deep down you already know the truth. You threw away our marriage for a fantasy, and now you want me to pretend it never happened. Tears started running down her cheeks, smearing her mascara. I love you, Frank. I've always loved you. No, you don't. You love the security I represent, the life I built for us, the safety net I provided while you played with fire. I stood up, dropped money on the table. But that's over now. You made your choice. Frank, wait. I walked away, leaving her crying at the table. In the parking lot, I checked my recording device, made sure I'd captured everything. Patricia would be interested in Alyssa's admission that she wanted to end the affair, legal confirmation that it had happened. But I wasn't done yet. The final phase of my plan required one more performance. That night, I drove to Harborview Condos and waited in the visitor parking lot. At 9:47 p.m., Alyssa's BMW pulled in. She sat in the car for 10 minutes, probably working up the courage for what she had to do. I followed her into the building, staying far enough back to avoid detection. The elevator showed her stopping at the 4th floor, Jasper's floor. I took the stairs, positioned myself where I could hear but not be seen. Their conversation was muffled but audible through Jasper's door. Alyssa was crying, demanding answers about his finances, his promises, their future. Jasper's responses were increasingly angry, defensive. You're being paranoid, he said. Your husband's poisoning you against me. Then prove him wrong. Show me the contracts, the business plan, something that proves this isn't all lies. I don't have to prove anything to you. Either you trust me or you don't. I trusted you with my marriage, my future, everything, and now I find out you might be broke. Might be. Your husband's been filling your head with garbage and you're stupid enough to believe him. The conversation deteriorated from there. Jasper called her clingy and desperate. Alyssa accused him of using her. Within 20 minutes, their grand romance had collapsed into mutual recrimination. Alyssa stormed out, mascara streaking down her face, dignity in ruins. I waited until she was gone, then knocked on Jasper's door. He opened it, expecting her return, saw me instead, and his face went pale. Frank Dorsey. I smiled pleasantly. Mind if I come in? I think you should leave. I think we should talk, man to man, about my wife. I stepped forward, used my size advantage to crowd him backward. Unless you'd prefer to have this conversation in public? He let me in, probably calculating that a private confrontation was safer than a public scene. His condo was expensively furnished but felt temporary, like a hotel suite rather than a home. Drink? He offered, trying to regain control of the situation. No thanks. This won't take long. I settled into his leather couch, made myself comfortable. Nice place, must be expensive to maintain. I do well for myself. Do you? Because my research suggests otherwise. I pulled out my phone, scrolled through the financial records Ray had helped me compile. Dale Maritime's lost 60% of its contracts in 2 years. You've sold your yacht, your vacation home, your father's car collection. The bank's been calling in loans. Jasper poured himself a scotch, his hands shaking slightly. Business has been challenging. Challenging enough that you need to seduce married women to pay your bills? I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. It's a good con. Target lonely wives, promise them excitement and opportunity, get them to steal from their husbands. I stood up, walked to his window, looked out at the harbor. How many marriages have you destroyed, Jasper? Your wife came to me. I didn't pursue her. Because you're irresistible? Or because you researched her first, learned about our assets, identified her as a profitable target? I turned back to face him. My wife's not the first, is she? He finished his scotch, set down the glass with deliberate care. What do you want, Frank? I want you to disappear, leave town, find new hunting grounds, stay away from my family. And if I don't, then I make your financial situation public knowledge. Every business partner, every potential investor, every woman you might target in the future, they'll all know exactly what kind of man you are. I smiled coldly. Your con only works in the shadows, Jasper. I'm offering you a chance to slink back into them. He stared at me for a long moment, probably weighing his options. Finally, he nodded. Fine, I'll be gone by the end of the week. Smart choice. I headed for the door, then turned back. Oh, and Jasper? If you ever contact my wife again, if you ever come back to this town, if you ever cross my path in any way, I'll destroy you completely. Are we clear? Crystal. I left him standing in his expensive, empty condo, another casualty of his own greed and stupidity. 2 days later, Alyssa came home to find divorce papers on the kitchen table, the final decree ready for her signature. I was waiting with a pen and a bottle of wine. It's over, I said simply. Jasper's leaving town, the affair's done, and our marriage is legally finished. Sign the papers, Alyssa. She looked at the documents, then at me, then at the ruins of the life she'd thrown away. Frank, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I know you are. But sorry doesn't fix 20 years of broken trust. I pushed the pen toward her. Sign the papers. She signed, tears falling on the legal documents that ended our marriage. When she finished, I poured 2 glasses of wine, handed her one. To new beginnings, I said, raising my glass. She looked at me with something like hope. Frank, maybe we could... No. I finished my wine, set down the glass. You have until Sunday to move out. After that, you're trespassing. I left her alone with her choices and went upstairs to pack her belongings. 20 years of marriage, reduced to boxes and legal documents. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it just felt like the end.